It's 6 p.m. on a Monday here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Choi. Let us begin with the headlines. President Park Geun-hye puts her foot down on opposing voices to the U.S. missile defense system known as THAAD, emphasizing that the deployment is crucial to protect the South Korean people. South Korea's defense minister is in the hot seat, being questioned by the nation's political parties over the THAAD decision, with questions centering on building a national consensus and what to do about oppositions from Beijing and Moscow, while North Korea responds in a predictable manner, angry and hostile. With a sweeping victory in key parliamentary elections on Sunday, Japan's ruling coalition gets ready to bulldoze ahead with efforts to reverse the country's post-war constitution. Now, there's been a lot of noise surrounding the deployment of the THAAD missile defense system to South Korea, and now President Park Geun-hye has added her voice. She made clear that it is a necessary step that is vital to South Korea's survival. Song Ji-sun starts us off.
President Park Geun-hye said the decision to deploy THAAD was made because the advances in North Korea's nuclear and missiles program pose a direct threat to South Korea's survival and its future. Chairing a monthly meeting of our senior secretaries, President Park said the South Korean people are the main victims of Pyongyang's nuclear and missile programs, and leaving those threats as are now is the same as putting the people's lives at risk.
저는 대통령으로서 우리 국민과 국가를 지켜야 할 의무가 있고 북한의 위협으로부터 국민의 생명을 지키기 위해 필요한 모든 조치를 강구할 것입니다.
She reiterated that the high-altitude missile defense system is only for the nation's self-defense and that the international community should know that Seoul does not pose a threat to any other country.
사드는 북한 이외의 어떤 제3국을 겨냥하거나 제3국의 안보 이익을 침해하지 않고 또 할 이유도 없습니다.
She added that the THAAD location was selected in consideration for area residents' safety and health. The president will seek joint efforts to counter North Korea's nuclear issues at the ASEM summit in Mongolia later this week, when she will also try to promote South Korea as a leading open trade nation at a time of growing trade protectionism following Britain's decision to leave the European Union. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
North Korea denounces the two allies' decision to deploy the powerful U.S. missile defense system to the south, threatening the two countries with a military response. South Korea fired back with a warning of its own. Kwon So-won has the back and forth between the border.
North Korea says it will take physical action against South Korea and the U.S., a warning against the allies' decision to deploy the THAAD system in South Korea. According to the North state-run Korean Central News Agency Monday, the North's military is ready to strike Seoul and Washington the moment the two confirm the location of THAAD, threatening to turn them into a, quote, sea of fire. Seoul's defense ministry didn't hesitate to respond. The ministry spokesperson said Monday, before criticizing the THAAD deployment, North Korea should clearly recognize who is the one threatening peace and security on the Korean peninsula. He added North Korea should be the first to apologize for all of its provocative actions, and he warned of the potential consequences should the actions continue.
If North Korea continues its groundless claims and rash actions in defiance of our warnings, it will have to face our military's stringent retaliation.
Seoul's Unification Ministry defended the THAAD deployment too, saying it serves to protect South Korean people and property in the face of North Korea's continuing nuclear and missile threats. North Korea had said through its statement that claims about its threats are far-fetched and that the THAAD deployment is part of Washington's plan to dominate the world. The KCNA statement is Pyongyang's first official reaction since the announcement was made Friday and follows the immediate opposition from China and Russia, both of which believe THAAD will hurt their own regional strategic interests. Kwon So-won, Arirang News.
The country's political parties have taken opposing positions on deployment of the controversial missile defense system. Our Kim Young-gil shows us what kind of questions were thrown at the South Korean defense chief during the meeting.
The ruling Saenuri Party questioned South Korean Defense Minister Han Min-gu on the reasons for the THAAD deployment at a Parliamentary Defense Committee meeting on Monday.
What is the reason for deploying THAAD to South Korea? Is it solely for South Korea's security, or were we taking U.S. interests into account as well?
The THAAD deployment is for self-defense and to safeguard the people.
The defense minister reaffirmed that the U.S. missile defense system will not be used to attack neighboring countries, but to better counter North Korea's missile threats. The ruling party sided with the government, saying it will continue to prioritize national security. The main opposition Minju Party of Korea expressed its concerns about the strong objections to the THAAD deployment expressed by China and Russia.
Did you think we will be able to persuade them?
It's not a matter of being affected by remarks coming out of China and Russia. It's our sovereign right.
The minor opposition People's Party continued to lambast the THAAD decision, saying it will push for a stipulation of parliamentary approval before THAAD can be deployed.
We will bring up the issue of whether parliamentary approval is required for a THAAD deployment. We will even make a resolution to postpone the THAAD deployment. The timing is not right. We need to build a national consensus.
The opposition parties also raised the possible economic restrictions that Beijing could impose on Seoul and demanded the government take a more cautious approach to the matter. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
This is coming in. More anger from North Korea. This time directed at the U.S. It says it will completely shut off its channel of contact with the U.S. This is according to the state-run Korean Central News Agency, which said it sent the message to the U.S. through its UN representative on Sunday. This comes on the heels of Washington's latest sanctions targeting North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un himself for human rights violations. Pyongyang warned Washington to cancel that decision immediately. Moving on, shifting our focus to Japan now. The sweeping electoral victory by Japan's ruling party has given a huge boost to Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's drive to amend the country's pacifist constitution. The revision would reverse the country's decision to renounce war. According to our Oh Soo-young, the move is already raising concerns among Japan's regional neighbors. Take a look.
Shinzo Abe's Liberal Democratic Party and its junior coalition partner Komeito swept to victory in Sunday's upper house election. This victory strengthens Abe's grip over the Japanese parliament and gives him the mandate he needs to push for a referendum on revising Japan's post-war pacifist constitution. Article 9 of the constitution has banned the country from using offensive military force ever since the end of World War II. This includes militarization on land, sea and air, as well as the maintenance of other war potential capacities. Abe and his ruling party aim to amend the post-war constitution and expand Japan's military activities to build up normally functioning forces under the principle of collective self-defense. However, there's a strong sense of skepticism among the majority of the Japanese public, who have been staging protests against Abe's plans. Neighbouring countries and international observers are also concerned about the potential for a change in regional dynamics as a result. China's official news agency reacted to the electoral outcome on Monday, saying that the ruling bloc's victory could pose a danger to Japan and regional stability. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Coming back to South Korea, prolonged global uncertainties have cast a dark cloud over the nation's industry outlook. The Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry has released a weather chart forecasting the outlook for the second half of this year. The report projects the shipbuilding industry will be hit hard with figurative torrential rain in the latter half of 2016. There is a gloomy overcast outlook for Korea's IT and household appliances, automobile, steel and textile industries. This is partially due to global economic uncertainties stemming from Britain's decision to leave the European Union. However, the construction industry is expected to enjoy better weather as the low interest rate has contributed to growing demand for real estate and new home sales. The business outlook for the oil refining industry is also bright as demand for petroleum products steadies due to low oil prices. The Korean government is considering a sales suspension and cancellation of authorization for roughly 70 Volkswagen and Audi models sold in the nation since the year 2007 that were found to have used fabricated documents. Kim Min-ji has the latest on the emissions scandal.
Korea's Environment Ministry is currently reviewing the records of roughly 70 Volkswagen and Audi models sold in Korea, suspected of having passed local certification procedures with fabricated documents on emissions and noise tests. If this turns out to be true, the ministry plans to suspend sales of unsold vehicles, slap the Korea office with fines for cars already sold, and order a recall. Although it's not yet known how many vehicles might be subject to the punitive measures, the numbers are expected to be somewhere between 100,000 and 150,000, or between 40 to 60% of the 250,000 vehicles sold since 2007. This builds on a probe into Audi Volkswagen Korea over suspicions of irregularities that came into light in the wake of the so-called Dieselgate scandal, in which the German automaker was found to have used a cheat device to manipulate emissions data. Prosecutors also recently summoned a former executive of the local unit over his alleged involvement in the scandal. Last month, Korea's Environment Ministry, for a third time, rejected Volkswagen's plan to recall the vehicles in question, this time as the local office failed to admit to using a cheat device. Previously, the plans were turned down for lacking information. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Turning to golf, gold, and the Olympic Games, Hall of Famer Inbee has decided that she will compete in the upcoming Rio Olympics despite injury concerns. In contrast, another Korean golfer, KT Kim, has decided not to attend the Games, citing Zika virus concerns. Kwon Jang-ho has the updates on the buzzmakers in the world of sports.
Korea's prospect for another medal at next month's Olympic Games went up on Monday after seven-time major winner Inbee announced that she will compete in Rio. There had been question marks over the Korean golfer's attendance as she had been suffering from a series of back and thumb injuries all season. But she stated via her agency that competing in the Olympics has been a long dream of hers and that after concentrated rehabilitation and training, her thumb had healed considerably. She'll be joined by 3 others on the women's lineup for Korea, all ranked within the world's top 15. Meanwhile, for the men's team, Korea's second seed Kim Kyung-tae, also known as KT Kim, has decided not to attend the Games due to Zika fears. He said that although he understood how much of an honor it was to represent his country, after consulting with his family, he decided it was best not to compete as he was planning to have a second child. Kim is now the 16th male golfer in the world to have opted out due to concerns regarding the virus, including world number 1 Jason Day and world number 2 Dustin Johnson. It's a blow to the golfing world as it tries to re-establish itself as an Olympic category for the first time since 1904. The Korean Olympic Committee said it will do everything it can to protect the athletes from the mosquito-borne Zika virus, including special uniforms infused with insect repellent. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Over in the United States, protesters are back out on the streets to demand changes in law enforcement after the fatal police shootings of 2 black men last week. This as police investigate the shooter in Dallas who killed 5 of their own. Hwang Ho-jun reports.
Glass bottles, rocks, fireworks flew as police unleashed smoke into the crowd. What started out as a peaceful demonstration in St. Paul, Minnesota, quickly grew ugly. The demonstration was one of several in the United States this weekend, with hundreds of protesters arrested and several police officers injured.
I'm in tune with both of these sides, and saying Black Lives Matter isn't saying that they're the only ones that matter. It's saying let's all unite and fight for these people that are, being fought against.
The protest followed the fatal shooting of Alton Sterling by police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Philando Castile in St. Paul, Minnesota last week, which reignited the widespread anger over the fatal police shootings of black men over the past 2 years. Those 2 shootings were then followed by the shooting deaths of 5 police officers in Dallas by a lone gunman during a peaceful demonstration. The string of events has prompted President Obama, who is currently in Spain, to cut short his original schedule to go to Dallas on Tuesday. Before leaving, he cautioned all Americans against the use of harsh rhetoric against the police, which he said could hurt attempts at reform.
You are doing a disservice to the cause. First of all, any violence directed at police officers is a reprehensible crime and needs to be prosecuted.
Meanwhile, the man who killed 5 police officers in Dallas and injured 7 more was reportedly planning an even bigger attack. Speaking on CNN Sunday, Dallas Police Chief David Brown said he was convinced 25-year-old Micah Johnson had wider plans. Brown also said police are trying to find the significance of the letters RB that Johnson had written in his own blood, near where he was killed by a remote-controlled bomb detonator that ended both the standoff and his life. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
These are the stories we're following at this hour. From all of us here at Arirang News, thank you for watching.